Shabbat Shalom. In yet another confluence of the Jewish calendar and current events, this evening in Shul we are going to observe Yom HaShoah, which by dint of the Jewish calendar begins on Sunday night and continues into Monday. But it's hard to really think about anything and talk about anything except the protests that are going on at college campuses around the country, and in particular, what's been happening in the past week or couple of weeks at the University of Southern California and the University of California at Los Angeles, two institutions to which so many of us are deeply connected. These are extraordinarily complex issues. There's no way in this video that I can possibly tease out and unpack all of the complicated history and language that is being used and address that. That's the reason why at the end of this video I'm going to talk about two opportunities that we're going to offer to our community to come to the synagogue and be together and help process what's going on as a community. More about that at the end. But in the meantime, I want to make just a couple of points. The first point is that we as Jews have the right to expect that every single Jewish student on every single college campus in this country feels safe. That's not merely safe from physical violence, although it certainly is that. It's also safe from the threatening atmosphere that so many of these protests have created. And I think it's important for us to understand that these protests use language and use slogans that have extraordinarily problematic meanings for the Jewish people. We need to understand that because although these protesters may view themselves as peaceful and simply exercising their right to free speech, they're using language that is offensive to the Jewish people, to Jews in general, to the state of Israel. And when you take Jewish history as a whole, these slogans and signs and actions are extremely problematic and do create an atmosphere in which violence can erupt. We've actually seen violence. My guess is it's been amplified by social media, but we've seen violence on college campuses around the country, and it's absolutely inexcusable. We've seen Jews harassed on their way to classes. There's plenty of information out there, and I'm sure all of you are aware of it. We as Jews have an absolute right to expect and demand that university administrations keep Jewish students as safe as they would keep any other group on campus. And equally important, it shouldn't be incumbent upon Jewish students to move their gatherings and to adjust their schedules in order for university administrators to keep them safe. As parents, as students, it is well within your right, and it is demanding absolutely nothing than the bare minimum to expect that you will be safe on college campuses and that universities will take every possible measure they can to keep you safe. This doesn't mean that the protests have to necessarily end, but it certainly means that when these protests tilt over into the kind of language and the kind of rhetoric that we've been seeing, that university officials do something about it, because this kind of language about any other group in this country would not be tolerated. There is no circumstances under which Jews go back to Poland as applied to any other group would be tolerated. And it shouldn't be tolerated when it comes to Jews. That doesn't have anything to do with free speech on college campuses. It simply has to do with rhetoric and sloganeering that is offensive, that is prejudicial, and that has a long history of encouraging violence against Jews. The next thing that I'd like to say is that I've been thinking a lot about why this moment is so fraught, so raw, and so unnerving for the Jewish community here in America. And with the tip of the cap, with the tip of the kippah, to the Hartman Institute, place that I learn a lot from and continue to learn a lot from, and in particular Rabbi Daniel Hartman and Yossi Klein Halevi, here's what I've come to realize. For generations now, really, for the history of this country, we Jews have largely felt at home here. Even though there have been many episodes of anti-Semitism in this country, we Jews have felt that this has been the land of milk and honey for us, and that anything was possible, and that in the end, we were and are Americans. I think these protests really bring to the surface long-held Jewish insecurities about never feeling fully at home in every environment. And I think for so many of us, that recognition is painful and tends to color the way we see everything. And we should understand that there's good reason why these feelings that are in many cases buried in the collective psyche of so many Jews, and in fact, so many Jews who may have nothing to do with the Jewish world, is because there is thousands of years of history in which Jews have never truly been accepted as part of society. We feel, we believe, and we still believe that we have found that here in America. Yet seeing scores of campuses across the country, Berkeley, Michigan, Indiana, Brown University, NYU, and of course Columbia, seeing this to percolate to the top so quickly really sticks a knife in the feeling of safety and comfort and acceptance that we've felt in the United States of America for so long. And it's painful to admit. It's painful to even think about, gee, are we really at home here? And I know that many of you have been having these kinds of discussions, perhaps not in the most serious way, but for the first time in your life, and probably in the first time of your parents' lives and your grandparents' lives, unless they came from the old world, you're having these kinds of conversations. Gee, are we really safe? Is this really a place where we found safety and acceptance? The answer to that question is probably still to unfold. But I believe that is underneath everything why this moment is so incredibly raw for so many of us. As I've said, there's so much to unpack and there's so much to talk about, and there are so many feelings to process. Can you still support a two-state solution yet be disturbed at what's going on? Can you still be critical of the way Israel has conducted the war, yet still be a lover of Israel? All of these questions are running around the minds of so many of you. In order to give any of you who are interested an opportunity to join together and talk about and process with not any real answers necessarily, we'd like to invite you to come to the synagogue this Sunday morning, May 5th. We're going to meet in the Wiener Library. There's going to be coffee. I'm going to be there. There may be some other members of the clergy team that stop by. And there's no real agenda. I'd like to listen to what you have to say, and I'd like each other to listen what the other has to say. And I'd like us to together begin to process a very, very difficult moment in the Jewish world. That's going to be Sunday, May 5th from 9 to 10 in the Wiener Library. And it's going to be Tuesday, May 7th from 4 to 5 p.m. also in the Wiener Library. Please come. It's an appropriate conversation for anybody in high school and above. If your college students are home, I'd love to have them there. I'd love to see you there. Regardless of what your opinion is about this, everybody is welcome. Our community does not all agree on what's happening or how to interpret events, and that's exactly why we want to join together and talk about these issues. And if those times don't work for you, please know that any member of our clergy team, and this begins with me and extends to everyone else, is more than happy to have coffee with you, to meet you in our office or at any place or time that's convenient for you or for you and a group of friends, because we know this is a fraught moment, a difficult moment, and a raw moment for the Jewish world. And that's really what we're here for. A lot of people have asked, what can you do? There are a few answers. We're going to talk about them when we meet on Sunday and Tuesday. But although I don't know how satisfying it is, I think the one thing that I believe is truly helpful is to show up and be present. Come to services. Come to the synagogue. Just sit in the lobby and have a cup of coffee. Know that you're surrounded by people who are sharing the same feelings by and large that you are feeling, and know that you'll be doing so in a place of safety and in a place of acceptance. Being present is an important Jewish value. Being together is an important Jewish value. And if there was any time in my lifetime when it was important for Jews to be together, to show up, it's this moment now. So I hope to see you if you're available Sunday, and it's not just religious school families, it's open to everybody, but certainly religious school families. Anybody high school or up, anybody in our community, you're more than welcome to come. Sunday, 9 to 10 in the Wiener Library. Tuesday, May 7th, 4 to 5 in the Wiener Library, and if we need to go longer, of course we will. This evening we're going to gather, and we're going to remember Yom HaShoah, as well we should. We're going to listen to some very wise words from Rabbi Cantor Wissit, and we are going to just be together and take strength from being together. I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and I look forward to seeing you at one of these opportunities to sit and chat over the next few days. Thank you.